On November 5th, we have a full moon in Taurus, and this is a super moon, meaning the moon is very, very close to the earth. So the gravitational pull between the earth and the moon is stronger. I mean, a full moon has a tremendous amount of gravity and gravitas anyway, an energetic pull, but this moon is hyperactive. And it's almost like a frequency peak for the entire month, is the way it feels to me. It feels like a crescendo energetically. So when I say that, there's a bit of caution with it, meaning be careful not to overreact. Full moons can be reactive by nature because they are about opposition, but this feels like an energetic frequency spike, a frequency peak. And what it feels like it will do is it will shake any false foundations, whether that is on a global scale, an economic scale. Remember, Taurus rules money, finances, or it is on a personal level in your relationships, in your business partnerships, in any faulty foundation within yourself and your life. It's almost like there'll be some piercing clarity. Taurus rules money and resources, and it also rules our values, our sense of self-worth, and the material world, sensuality, embodiment, and pleasure. That's Taurus's area of expertise. It's Taurus's forte. And when you have the sun in Scorpio, which is very intense and emotionally penetrating, opposing the moon in Taurus, there can be some massive earthquakes in your sense of what you value, maybe your pocketbook, or your sense of safety and security. So pay attention and just be mindful on the 5th. I would say this full moon is a great full moon to look at where you have been spending your money and your energy. I'm going to say both of those things, your resources and money and your actual energy, and do an audit, do an assessment. Where am I spending my time, energy, and money and resources? And does it feel valuable to me today, to who I am today? Does my time, energy, and currency and the way I budget it, is it true to who I am today? So it's a great moon, like on a simple note, to cancel a subscription that doesn't apply to you today, or trim a little bit of fat. Like if you've been going and spending X amount of dollars on, like, let's just say at the coffee shop, you know how we tend to spend money in coffees and things like that. I haven't really do that. I haven't done that for a while. Um, I just don't anymore, but I used to. And I spent an inordinate amount on coffees. Today, I mean, maybe I spend it on things like juices or supplements. I spend it differently today. But anyway, look at where you spend a lot of money and look at why. And you may be totally aligned in this energy and very pleased with what you find. That's exceptional. That's amazing. That tells you something right there, that your energy and your resources and where you put your fiscal resources feels very aligned. But you may find some things that are out of sync. So, what is one thing you can do to trim the fat or realign your budget? Literally, fiscally, but then also look at your time. Do a time audit of your day-to-day life and routines. Where are you spending too much of your time and energy that does not feel productive or valuable? That's your other big question for this full moon. Notice it, become aware, and see where you can hit the reset button and take some action over the course of the next 30 days. Some of the shadows of that really can come up in a Taurus full moon is greed and hoarding. Not just hoarding of assets and resources and money, but like hoarding of your time. That's where I find myself. I've set really good, healthy, energetic boundaries over the years, and they tend to evolve. But I notice where I get stubborn, Taurus, and I set those boundaries and then I'm unwilling to move them or be flexible. So inflexibility, but setting boundaries with your time, but looking at where you hoard your time and your resources, and maybe you're not as generous with your ability to be of service to others, to love on other people, to support other people, to be flexible. Look at those things. And then maybe where you hoard your money. And I tell you what, I can remember that's making me laugh a little bit. I remember when I was young and I worked from a really young age, and it started, with things like babysitting, or I would take care of neighbors' pets and cats and things like that. But I can remember when I would earn cash from those jobs, I would stash it in my closet. Like, I had a money stash in my closet, and I would save up for things, and I would do that, and I would talk to my parents about it. I remember I bought my Nintendo. Like, I saved up, and I was in 1st grade, and I bought a Nintendo for myself from the money I had saved up. I mean, I don't remember what Nintendos cost, but I think they were 100 and something dollars. I mean, that was a lot in 1980. This was like 86, 80, something like that, 86. But anyway, but I would, like, after that, I remember hoarding my money, and I would have stashes of money, and I would find other ways to spend my parents' money and not mine. And that is one of those behaviors that I have carried into adulthood when I stash away cash in the house, and I do, and I have for a long time, you know, finding every excuse not to use it, and try to find resources elsewhere. And I changed that behavior when we moved to Ecuador because I found all these piles of cash that I had stashed. And while it was a great thing to find all those piles of cash that I had stashed, I also thought, what am I saving this up for? And I think it's good to have cash stashed in your house. Believe me on that. I think it's good to have cash on hand. I like operating in cash. But this is not about that. This was about hoarding. And it was about me kind of afraid that if I didn't have this cash stashed, what if something were to happen and I was going to need this cash? And that's really the operating system I was coming from. And so I started spending that cash. Like, I'm like making it rain. I started spending that cash as we have moved. And whether it was on paying for something, like a new set of sheets with that cash when we moved here and we, have been having to decorate our house and whatnot, or it was, investing in something I wanted, getting my nails done or, something like that. But just look at where you hoard time, energy, money. And does it come from a place of scarcity and greed? Or is it coming, you're putting money and time and energy away because you're being really honest about your reserves and your energy field? So, scarcity thinking. And also over attachment. Another shadow of Taurus is over attachment to what is familiar but might be draining. And I'm going to repeat that because that's really huge. With Taurus, the shadow is over attachment to what is familiar but might be draining. And I like that comes up for a lot of people because it's easier to play safe on the devil we know and what we know and put up with old behaviors and old energies because we feel like we can control it. And there are so many examples that pop to mind for me and for other people that I know, staying in a toxic relationship, having a business model that is outdated, but you know the amount of money that comes in and it provides you to security, but you're really not enjoying what you're doing or the model you're operating with or the people you're working with, but you know how to control them. You know what's on your plate. This is a huge behavior. So look at where you are attached to what is familiar, but it's actually draining your happiness, energy, your life force, emotions, things like that. The highest expressions of this full moon are really anchoring into your own self-worth, recognizing your value. Remember what I said, loving yourself more, dating yourself. This is the moon to do it. And also to choose aligned resourcing. What relationships, what time, what energy are you spending that really feels valuable, worthy, and reciprocal, synchronistic, grounding physically and emotionally? This full moon is imperative to spend a little bit of time grounding. It's also a moon where your wealth and your health and your prosperity will soar if you're honest with yourself and honest in a healthy, kind, authentic way with the people around you. So look at where you can be honest in and around this full moon. Again, first with yourself, and then how can your actions follow that honesty? How can your actions become more honest? Power moves during this moon are maybe breaking one financial or relational pattern that is toxic, unhealthy, or draining you. Maybe to set one boundary for yourself or with someone else that you know it creates more value, health, and well-being. And then choosing something during this moon that really nourishes your body. So whether that is investing in a massage, a therapy session, a really delicious meal, a day off of work, just because this is the moon to make that choice. It's a powerful full moon. I know I've harped on it for a little bit and really defined it. It's because it is quite powerful.